I just feel bad for like the Eric Bieniemys and people like my dad.
Ian, Greg's a great, young man. Just talking to him, he was excited. Some people just need a change of scenery sometimes, and I think it's going to be good for Greg. We got something in return, and Chris Greer is a good friend of mine. I've been talking to him on and off, for the last probably month and a half, 2 months about several different things. They had some injuries. They called yesterday, and it really all happened fairly quickly. But I felt the time was right. I knew where Greg stood on our team. He's a really talented young man. But I thought he'll have a great opportunity in Miami, and we wish him well.
Scott, any positions you're seeing right now that you feel like you got to really keep an eye on to see if you can upgrade?
All of them. Like, we're really looking at all of them. Always the offensive line, our depth on the offensive line, our depth at linebackers. Basically injuries force a lot of different things that you want to take a look at different players, and we've been bringing players through. It was safety early on. Right now we have a lot of numbers to safety, and we have a lot of good young guys that it's going to be hard to move on from, which is a good thing. But once we get through the game, there might be other positions, but right now it's really just building our depth. We kind of know who our frontline guys are, but just upgrading that, kind of that 25 to 53.
Scott, back to Greg. I know obviously you didn't draft him, but this organization used a second-round pick on him, drafted up to get him. How do you think about that at all when you're trying to get something in return for him, or how does that kind of just the investment this team made in him?
Well, a lot of the market's driven on what someone's willing to pay, and we all have different draft picks throughout our careers. I've been with Seattle for 20 years, and sometimes guys don't work out, sometimes they do. It's just the situation they're put in and the opportunity they have and the timing. So for Greg, this might be a great situation for him to really improve himself and take it to the next level.
Scott, what's your satisfaction level with the backup quarterbacks? And are there any veteran guys out there, or has that market been pretty well picked over?
I think right now it's been picked over pretty good. I was excited about PJ when he came in the game, running around, making plays. He created a lot of really opportunities downfield with his feet. The one thing I'd like to see him do more is maybe finish with the throw. But he's really kind of an exciting young guy to watch, and I like that style of play. It reminds me a little bit of Russell and some of the guys that can create opportunities on their own with their feet. We'll see a little bit more with maybe a different group this week. I thought he's done some things really well in camp, but overall, we're going to keep an eye on all quarterbacks around the league, but we kind of like where we're at right now with PJ and Will.
Are you more confident in PJ now than you were 3-4 months ago, now that you've had a chance to see him in some of these situations?
Yeah, actually, that's accurate. Once I saw him in a game situation, stepping up, making plays, kind of seeing things downfield, keeping his eyes downfield, that was good. That was, sometimes he has a little bit tough time in the pocket, seeing over the middle, but his ability to move and slide and keep his eyes downfield and make the big play, I like that.
Scott, when you watch like today's practice and you see the Ravens, who are a perennial playoff team, won so many games the last few years, and
right.
you see yourself. So where do you see the main differences? Where would y'all need to get to go, to where the Ravens are right now?
Yeah, I think you really see it on the depth. The way the guys are built, the way they look, the speed. Once you get to that second team, I think we have a lot of really good high-end guys. But as we build this roster, that's the area we're trying to get better.
53.
Exactly.
How long
So
does that take?
It can take a couple years, but I think we're trying to speed that up by bringing guys through all the time and picking over the waiver wire. I think the 53-man cut this year will help. We have good players on our depth right now, or in our depth. But as you saw, like the team out there today, those guys are stacked. That's a really good football team, and they're coached really well. And we're going to get there.
Scott, for a bigger picture story doing on Sam, going back to when you guys got him, there's been a number of high draft picks that have, you've been around the league a long time, that in their second stop, after kind of failing out in the first stop, so to speak.
Right.
Keely Smith, Schuler, RG3, that never really made it in their second stop. Why do you think Sam can be different?
I think you see other guys like Tannehill that do. I think it's just the offense that they're in, sometimes the players that are around them, the coaching they receive, and I think Sam is going to benefit from a reset. He's got a really good coaching staff around him with Sean Ryan and Joe Brady. They're just kind of building the basics. They've had a reset, and like I said before, flush what he's seen, and we're going to build from there.
Who was kind of instrumental in bringing? I mean, I know you, but is there anybody else on the staff that was like, why don't we take a look at this guy if we can get him?
I think the whole thing started when Coach was watching tape of another player down the hall. He came down. I was sitting in the office with Pat Stewart, and he said, "Do you think Sam would ever be available?" And so we called up to Joe Douglas at that point, and we started talks. We started evaluating him, doing our homework. Why would we do this? We started asking ourselves a lot of questions. What's happened in the past? Why would we do this? We relied on our experience of scouting him at USC, knowing who he was, what they said back then, and just saying, this is a good guy to take a shot on. We like the opportunity here for him.
And you had done quite a bit of research on him at USC.
Yeah, we did. One thing, even though we had Russell Wilson there, we were always doing homework on quarterbacks, and so we felt comfortable with what we've done.
Having said that, you had the 5 quarterbacks that were selected this year in the draft in the first round all had pretty spectacular days in the first preseason game. What did you make of that, and does that give you any thought for, hey, maybe we should have looked elsewhere?
Well, we're really excited having Sam here and the ability to add JC with it. I mean, those are 2 players that we think can really help us. I didn't get a chance to see a lot of it. I did see like Justin Fields, the series before the half, the series after, and he played well. But we really like the guys that we have.
When you look at those things, I mean, Sam was in a group 5 of 2018 of 5, and 2 of those aren't even with the teams that were drafted by him. Or what's that say to you about how people kind of overreact and overhype when they see a first preseason game?
Yeah, I think you just have to kind of keep a level head and know, hey, preseason, there's not a lot of scheming, there's not a lot of game plans that go on. I think the first preseason games, there's, we set a lot of our starters, and if you look at starters around the league, but I think quarterbacks in general are adapting quicker now to the NFL than they did 5-10 years ago, and I'm happy for those guys.
During the evaluation process you talked about with Sam, what were the factors that enabled y'all to say yes?
We liked his athleticism, his size, and especially the arm strength. Those things, the ability to throw the deep ball, we like that. And just everything they talked about the guy, the person that he is, the work ethic, the toughness, all those things really stood out.
You talked about depth, needing depth along the offensive line. Is there a position group that you look at and say, okay, we're solid here?
I really like the receiving group right now. That's a really solid group. We've had a lot of depth to corner and their safety group. So those would be the guys. I think we have a good front line on that defensive line, but we just need to stay healthy.
What's your strategy from an evaluation standpoint with this 3-week preseason schedule, and do you think you'll see the starters this week?
Yeah, I think that's something Coach and I have talked about, and I think you see it league-wide where not a lot of starters go the first week. It's almost the reverse of what it was in the past. I think the starters would play a quarter or so in the first game, more in the second game, a lot in the third game, then the fourth game they wouldn't play. Now with the roster cuts the way they are, from we're reduced 5 on Tuesday, we're reducing another 5. That puts more reps on the players in the third preseason game. So we decided, hey, listen, we're going to do two joint practices, get a lot of reps in during the week, a lot of live reps, and then we can ease them in, and maybe that second or third game, I'll let Coach get into that and how he's going to play those guys. But that was kind of the thought process behind it.
Scott, and Matt's mentioned this the last couple times too, pairing JC and Sam. With JC's part of it, I mean, he seems like he kind of walks in the door an older guy. I mean, I know he's a rookie, but that background with his family, are there things you see in him on the practice field where it's like, okay, that doesn't look like a rookie?
He's got that alpha mentality. I think you guys saw that out there today. He was right in the middle of everything. He's vocal, he's tough. And a lot of guys can be vocal and not back it up. JC's the guy that backs it up. He's the real deal when it comes to that. And that's more the attitude and the toughness that we want our team to be identified with, and we need more guys like him.
Scott, are there any deals? I know when we talked at the start of training camp, you said there are a couple conversations going on. Is there something you're hoping to get done before the season starts specifically?
There's actually a couple things that we're talking about. Nothing major that's going to like shift the dynamics of the team, but there's always talks about flipping picks, flipping players, and so those are ongoing.
Who surprised you the most so far?
Guy in the back end of the roster, CJ Saunders. He's a guy that we just picked up, back in OTAs. He's come out here and make plays. I'd say overall there's some really nice young guys that have made plays. We look league-wide for what people are saying about their back end of the roster, so we don't want to expose too many players and give away our secrets. But we're pleased with a lot of the young guys that we brought in.
How'd you find CJ? What stood out that allowed you?
Pat Stewart was an Ohio State guy, and the guys loved him there. He was a walk-on that became a captain, and he just does a lot of things well. And he's a tough kid, so Pat really gets a lot of credit for that one.
Can you talk a little bit more about how J.C. Horn manifests an alpha mentality? That is an unusual thing to say about him.
You feel the presence when you walk in. He's a take charge type of guy. He's a no nonsense, just hyper competitive person, and so to me that's the alpha. That's the guy that's in charge. When he walks in the room, he takes charge, and you feel that with him. And so we want more guys like that on this roster.
How much of that comes from growing up around the league with his dad and everything? I mean, you see the same type thing a little bit from Christian, who came in a family type atmosphere too. So, how much of a factor do you think is that?
Well, I do think it's a factor. I mean, his dad raised him the right way. He's wired the right way, and then a lot of that is, the kid has to be born that way too. You can push him and nurture him so far, but that kid's hardwired, a special way.
Where are you with kind of Taylor at left tackle, right tackle, Cam Irving, that whole mix?
I think that actually Cam's done pretty well on that left side. You see him. I think the zone scheme really helps him out. I mean, he doesn't have to move a lot of guys. He's got the length and the foot quickness, and he's watching these guys. He's gone to get some really good guys against the Colts today against the Ravens, and he's held his own, done a great job out there. So I think we feel good about him, and Taylor has done a nice job on the right side. If we have to put him on the left, he looks like he's getting more comfortable with his footwork. So there's some options there.
Do you find it at all, like the depth at left tackle, do you find it all concerning that Taylor Moton's also like the number 2 left tackle, that there's not more depth at that?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to always look, especially, left tackles are hard to find, and tackles in general. We've called around the league several teams, and it's almost like the same positions. Guys are looking for tackles. Guys are looking for pass rushers or corners. So they're really hard to find. No one's going to cut any, so you probably have to trade for some. But it's a position that we'd like to, upgrade.
Scott, I don't know if there's even any talk or any progress about any contract extensions, like DJ Moore, anybody like that?
Yeah, we're working on one pretty significantly right now, and then another one's kind of on the come.
What have been your thoughts on Terrence Marshall so far?
Terrence has done a great job for us. I think he's learning, he's working hard. The thing about Terrence is we've always known he's talented. He's just got to become more consistent and learn to be a pro and get in the playbook and study every day. We're really pleased with his progress. I think you saw the playmaking ability the other night on the field, and we see that out here on the practice field too. But it's just, he's got to realize he's got to keep pushing, keep raising his game, but he's doing well. Good time in here, huh? Any other questions?
Usually with Matt, it's a trade.
Yeah.
Is Robbie someone you look to extend?
I don't want to get into the specifics of certain players, just contract-wise. I don't talk about it, and I think it's personal business to them. But obviously, he's one of the guys that would be next in line.
What is their philosophy as far as some like general managers don't do contract extensions after the season starts? So you got a certain philosophy on that, or
Just when the time is right. I think there's a lot of communication. I'm not going to say we're not going to talk during the season, but I think it's kind of an individual thing that we'll work through.
How has this process been for you, coming in, GM, acclimation, Charlotte, Spartanburg?
Spartanburg's been great. I actually like it. The hard part is we left, went up to Indy. We had 4 good days in Indy. I got home, spent one night in my bed, and I was like, wow, this is nice. And then we're back down here. But, Wofford's been great for us. Guys, Mike Anderson, our football ops team, and, all the guys just worked so hard to make this great for us, and they've done a great job.
all right, everybody good?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's it.
You come back here
Thanks for coming by, Scott.
after you guys start in Rock Hill, you think, or even next year?
You know what? I have no idea. I'm not involved in that. I like it here, though. It's been nice, really nice.
Yeah.
So.
He's asking because he.
Oh, really? You went to Wofford?
Long time ago.
Did you really?
I grew up here, so I got
Did you really?
bigger roots.
It's a beautiful campus.
Most of this stuff wasn't here then, a lot of this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
practice fields.
I mean, all these buildings look brand new. And I guess the players' dorms, the vets players' dorms, really nice. And
Yeah, right. That's